podcast. I'm Jen, your mom, joined as always by Jared Dad.
Hi.
How you doing, Jared Dad?
You know,
Yeah.
pretty good. But I got to say, 2021 still kind of sucks.
It's got to get better. I got an email today asking if I wanted to do an in-person speaking event in May. And I'm like, will I be vaccinated by May? Will life still be an enduring nightmare in May?
The problem is that nobody knows.
We don't know. That makes it worse.
Yeah.
Anyway, the cocktail of the week is the ginger margarita, which we had last night. It's good. It's a margarita, but you use ginger juice in it. And ginger juice is not a juice that you should drink out of the bottle.
Isn't it clumpy?
I'd say grainy. It's not clumpy. It is
Not
filtered.
like grain alcohol. The grainy, like
It's got some texture to it.
pulpy orange juice grainy.
It's finer grained than that. It's also not at all sweet, and it's very intense. It's just ground up ginger, filtered. So it works great. I mean, I can imagine all kinds of things it's going to work great, and I bought a bottle of it. But as for drinking it by itself, oh, no, that is not a good idea.
Yeah, I don't think ginger juice has ever been a big part of this nutritious breakfast. Like, have a delicious glass of ginger juice.
Nope.
That'd be like, here's some potato liquid. Never caught on either.
You could put it in your orange juice, and then you'd have like orange ginger, and I bet it would be tasty.
Putting it in other things is acceptable.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't be in the juice rack. It should be in like the spice rack.
It's very intense. But it made it, that margarita was good.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like, it's got some zippiness and
Yeah, I mean, it's
obviously
sort of
gingeriness.
skipping the ginger ale form of ginger and going straight to the source.
Yeah. It was tasty.
Secondary to the source.
Yeah. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. This could be a 2-hour podcast.
Brace yourselves. Go to the bathroom now. You know,
That's the nice
say
thing
goodbye
about
to your loved ones.
Oh, nice thing about the pause button is that you can go to the bathroom anytime. I mean, you could just bring the podcast into the bathroom if you had to.
This is so not live.
We don't want to know.
Listening in the bathroom is much better than broadcasting in the bathroom, which we don't do ever.
Correct.
Wouldn't ever consider, but
Yes.
people do it.
Not us.
People tweet from the bathroom. I've seen presidential tweets. I think there's documentation. Anyway, go ahead.
Anyway. All right. So we're going to begin with the sad and then, whoa.
Ugh,
We had to put most of the dogs out on the
a
porch.
desperate
They're
plea for
very
relevance
wound up
from out
tonight.
there.
Oh, my God. Guac and Voodoo and Hobbs and Vink are all out on the porch because they're being so annoying.
They're all jumping on each other. There's chewing. There's squishing. There's jumping off the ottoman into. It's just like WWE craziness.
They're outside.
Yep.
All right.
God knows what's going on out there.
So since our last podcast, there are many things to talk about, but of course the main news is that we lost St. Patrick.
Yeah, it sucks.
It was the day after we did the podcast, and I was saying to your dad, like, whenever I go, like, well, I think it's getting to be about time, like, we've maybe got a week or two left, what that actually means is, oh, fuck, it's time, and we've got, like, a day left. It's the first step of going, like, oh, he's really not doing well, and soon we're going to have to make this decision, is actually recognizing it's time, and I just never quite get there right at the.
I mean, it's a small sample base, and it has been that case. Yes,
We've had that happen a few times.
yes.
So we recorded last week, and then the next day he wouldn't eat. He wouldn't eat anything.
We tried all the delicious.
I made him tater tots
deliciousnesses.
for breakfast. I made him fresh tater tots for breakfast, and he wouldn't eat them.
Yeah.
He wouldn't eat, and we couldn't get him to eat anything. Like, plenty of our dogs will stop eating dog food, but they'll eat treats or whatever. He wouldn't even eat the tater tots.
Yeah, and he was just so out of it that he'd started like sitting on his brothers or kind of collapsing over them, and then just kind of he would just lie there because he kind of gave up on trying to get back up, and that's not good.
No. So yeah, it kind of was all at once, which
Yeah.
I was listening back to last week's podcast, and it was pretty clear, like, oh, he's not doing good, like, it's not going to go well, but it was quite a bit worse the next day. And so we sort of decided it was time.
Not even eating meatballs, not even eating
Tater tots.
Tater tots. I mean, really, that's a sign.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So that sucks.
Yeah, he was a good boy. Went on a roller coaster. I think he was doing well, and he had cancer of the eye, but then
he'd have these big upswings where he'd be happy and wagging and, not with it, but a little more engaged. Yeah.
And more mobile and nimble.
Yeah.
And then it all caught up with him. I mean, he had a hard life. We don't even know he had a hard life, but we know he had a hard life.
So we'll see how this goes. So we had the St. Patrick there, but not their friends story. If you haven't heard that, go back a couple podcasts.
If you haven't heard it and you're not operating heavy machinery, this also is not designed if you're driving a car and are the driver. Maybe not listen right now. So
the there but not their friends story, if you listen to the podcast regularly, you have heard. If not, you should go back and listen to it. That was from Lisa, who's a friend of the squad. She sent that to us.
Mm-hmm.
And so Brian, who's another friend of the squad, wrote like a part 2 for us after we lost St. Patrick. And he was very considerate. He's like, I built on Lisa's idea. And Lisa said, I sent it to her. And she's like, this is beautiful. So Brian said we could read this on the pod. So I'm going to try to read it.
He doesn't know if we could read it on the pod. We're going to try.
He warned me that I would ugly cry, and I did. And then I sent it to our dad, and he ugly cried on the couch next to me. But I've read it a few times, and so I'm hoping I can get through it like I got through the last one. But I warn everyone listening, if you ugly cried at the last one, you probably will at this one also.
Maybe a little bit more.
Okay. So this is a story from Brian about St. Patrick. It's called They're Coming, a story about St. Patrick. Okay. Hopper sensed it first. They're coming. I feel it too. Venk pushed her ears forward. Patrick, they're coming. St. Patrick raised his head. I should get ready. He struggled to stand up. His back legs hurt more every day. He stumbled to his feet and began to pace around. Do you think they'll come soon? Hopper replied, I don't know. Soon. They're close. Patrick remembered his there but not there friends who brought him to his new home. They were so strong and fast. He could barely keep up. It was so hard. He remembered their words. You have to be brave, but they are worth it. Patrick looked around at his family with love. He was one of the boys. Guac and Brody, Voodoo and Little Cheese, and St. Patrick. Myriad shades of gold. He loves his sisters most of all because they take care of him. His sisters knew he was special. Hops and Venk are so beautiful and so well behaved, though Patrick learned early not to get in Venk's way at mealtime.
Well behaved.
They like to remind him that they used to not allow boys in their squad and that the girls will always be in charge. Of course, Patrick adores his mom and dad. St. P has never been as excited about food as Venk, but Mom and Dad brought him cheeseburgers and french fries and made him spaghetti and meatballs and sprinkled Cheetos on his food. Tater tots! As a special treat, J.R. Dad would give him a tip of a roastie. But mostly, Patrick loved as his parents loved him. Head scratches, pats, snuggles, singing in the elevator, a warm, loving home, and sea breeze flapping his ears. Who knew life could be like this? His mom even gave him a window to look out of, and there was always another handsome dog looking back at him. The dog on the other side of the window had Muppet feet and a cool head spike just like Patrick. But lately, the dog on the other side of the window seemed to be getting older. He was having a hard time getting around, having a hard time sleeping. Patrick worried about him. He knew how it felt. Do you think they'll come soon? Soon. They're close. I'm ready. And then St. Patrick settled in for a nap. Hello again, friend. Patrick felt a nose nudge him. We're here. Are you ready for another escapo? Patrick lifted his head and smiled. You've come to see me. His there but not there friends surrounded him. There were the 4 who brought him here. I know each and every one of you from the family stories. You're Maggie, and you're Jasmine, and you're the boyfriend Riley. He looked at the dog who first nudged him with the name tag that just said, awesome. And Patrick said, and you must be Queso. All 4 of you have a diamond in your collars. Your mom has a diamond just like it.
We can take a break.
Okay. Pause podcast. All right, I'm going to keep recording while your dad paces around. Everything okay over there? Okay. Okay. All four of you have a diamond in your collar. Dear Mom has a diamond just like it. Maggie replied, we just got ours. We love them. Patrick looked over to the fifth there but not there dog. Swizz! I've missed you so much. You look so good. I've missed you too, Patrick. And with that, they all moved close and nuzzled Patrick. He easily stood up and nuzzled them too. Hops and Vink had been standing back, but finally came over to be with their there but not their friends. Hop spoke to all of them. Thank you for coming, she added. It's time. Keizo asked Patrick, are you ready to join us? We have an important job, just like when we found you. You have to be brave. Patrick asked, do you think I'm brave enough? Swizzle stepped forward. Yes, Patrick, I know you're brave enough. Come with us. Patrick bowed his head for a moment and then said, I'm ready. Let me tell everyone goodbye. He walked over to the stoic quartet of Guac, Chief Brody, Voodoo, and Parmesan. Thank you for letting me be one of the boys. I love you so much. Don't ever change. And then he went to Hopper and Vink. I don't know what to say. You've taken such good care of me. I'm sorry for all the trouble I've been. With tears rolling from her eyes, Vink replied, not trouble, Patrick. We love you and always will. I have to say goodbye to Mom and Dad, Patrick said. He walked over to where they were sitting. Oh, just pause that podcast again. Okay, we're gonna get through this, dear Dad.
Okay.
Okay, I have to say goodbye to Mom and Dad, Patrick said. He walked over to where they were sitting and looked them in the eyes. He wished he knew how to express all of his feelings. They were perfect parents. They worked so hard for him and his siblings. He leaned his head into them. They scratched his head. He wagged his tail, a final gift. They cried. They knew. The there but not there friends were waiting by the door, patiently waiting for Patrick. Wait, I have one more goodbye. Patrick walked over to the small window, looking for his friend on the other side. He wasn't there. He'd always been there. I hope he's okay. Hopper, Patrick said. Yes, Patrick. Will you tell my friend on the other side of the window goodbye for me? Hiding her tears and offering him one last touch, she said, yes, Patrick, I will. His there but not there friends were already heading into the yard, and Patrick ran down the stairs and caught up to them, running like he used to when he was young. Maggie? Yes, Patrick. You were right. They were so worth it.
Oh.
That sucked. That was too much right now.
Yep. It's a lot.
So, yeah.
Good story, though.
It's good. That is a fitting end tribute to poor St. Patrick.
Yep.
He was a very good boy.
Yep. He sure was.
Okay. So
that was enough intro. Let's get serious. I mean, let's really get depressed.
I guess the one thing
I'm kidding.
I'll add before we move on from the Patrick story, which is just sad and terrible, is that we kind of knew in the morning when he wouldn't eat the tater tots that it was time. So I texted his foster family who had him, where Jared Dad went and picked him up. And I was like, you guys, it's time. We're going to do it today. And I mean, they were wonderful. And so when we were at the vet, I was like, guys, we're at the vet. If you want anything, like, this is the time. And they texted, like while he was getting his shot. So I FaceTimed them afterwards, like we had time with him after. And so they FaceTimed in and were super nice. So
he saved his life when his guts got all tangled up.
Yeah. So we got some St. Patrick floof. I'm going to send them some. But they're the ones who gave him his Ninja Turtle lunchbox.
With cheese in it.
So I have taken his mirror down. I did a frenzy of work on the house this weekend, which we'll talk about in a minute. And I was like patching and spackling and painting. And I was like, I have to do behind the mirror. So the mirror is waiting for when we get his box of ashes back. I kept the mirror so he can have the mirror with his ashes.
I didn't think it could get more depressing, but maybe it just did.
Sorry.
Food likes to look in the mirror sometimes too.
Well, the mirror's gone now, so I mean it's just in the office.
Food is a whole different case.
All right, well that's the worst part of the podcast. That was harder than I expected, and I expected it would be hard. But thanks, Brian, even though I cried stupid. You did a good job.
It's not stupid. It's totally appropriate.
Okay. Well, let's talk about Guac's attempted murder. Actually, let's put that up. Let's talk about your road trip.
I like the tease there, though. That's good.
Guac's attempted murder of me comes after the road trip.
Yeah.
So GR Dad took a road trip this weekend and did not come home with another dog.
It was not intended to bring back another dog. I mean,
No.
I'm always open, but, I'm going pretty fast.
Yeah. GR Dad, we needed to check on the Maryland house. There were a couple things we needed from there. Frankly, while we haven't discussed this, I think GR Dad was feeling a little cooped up after 5 weeks of our house being worked on and being trapped in a little room.
Not being our house, yeah.
So he's like, yeah, we should get this stuff. I should go check on the house. And I was like, yeah. He's like, I think I'll go tomorrow, which is like, that's a thing I do.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm going to do tomorrow. There's not a thing GR Dad does.
Usually the sequence would have been you suggested it, and I'd be like, no, oh, maybe. Okay.
Let's think about it for 3 weeks.
Well, or even during that, it would take hours. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, I'm going to go on Friday.
I skipped that part. I skipped all of that. I was like, we don't have time. I'll just accept that this is what's going to happen.
Yeah, it was great. I'm very impressed with you. And because it's lonely up there, you brought Guac with you.
I did, and Guac is, for many reasons, right? He's a source of chaos here, so removing him actually probably made it calmer for you.
Yeah.
And he is the best in the car.
And he loves the car.
Pops is quiet in the car, but she suffers quietly in the car. Like, she is always kind of panting, and she has kind of little frantic eyes, and she drools all the time. So I don't think she likes being in the car.
Yeah,
she
I
likes
agree.
being close to me, but not being in the car. And Guac is just
Guac
super happy.
loves the car.
Yeah.
Every time we leave the house, he just runs up to the car and he's like, are we going for a ride in the car?
Yeah, let's go for a ride.
He did a good job. So GR Dad basically drove all day Friday, got in at 3 a.m., spent Saturday in Maryland, drove back on Sunday and got home at 12:30, 1 a.m.
Yeah, because I left earlier on Sunday.
So, yeah. Well, Guac, hang on. You're stuck. You're stuck on it.
Oh, you're going to decable us. You're going to unplug the power. Oh,
No, I fixed it.
Guaco man.
I had to lift up the Guac, but I fixed it. So anyway, yeah, so
I have no good stories about the drive. It was long and kind of
boring.
Guac got to eat a Twinkie.
And a ham and cheese sandwich.
Because I ate a Twinkie and a ham and cheese sandwich because I couldn't get any tacos on the way. I didn't want to waste any time getting tacos.
Yeah. I had an extremely relaxing weekend with the remaining 5 dogs.
It is
who were
calmer,
here.
isn't it?
Oh my gosh, we just had a great time. They all slept. They often, GR Dad, I'll be like, when did you get up? And he's like, I got up at 6. I'm like, why? And he's like, the dogs are doing something. When I'm here by myself, the dogs sleep until 9 a.m. with me.
They know they can come to my side of the bed and just pant 3 or 4 pants, and I'll get up and be like, oh, you need to go outside? Oh, it's terrible. And Venk does that, and then she lies down.
Yeah.
Leaves me standing by the open front door. And Guac just wants my spot. I'll get up, and Guac will just jump on the bed and curl up in my spot.
He's a good bed snuggler.
He's a terrible, sneaky spot stealer.
Anyway, it was a very relaxing weekend for us here for 3 days. You seem to have, the drives were super long.
It was uneventful, but it was 18 degrees in Maryland when I left. That's cold.
60 degrees different.
The windshield wiper thing froze for me.
Oh my God.
That's cold.
That's why we're here.
That's cold.
Oh my God.
How cold was it? So cold.
So GR Dad drove Friday. He spent Saturday in Maryland. He drove Sunday.
Yeah.
So, and got in at 1 a.m. I'm like, Monday morning, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go for a run. And I'm going to bring Guac because his big long legs have been cramped up in the car all weekend.
Surely he would love to go for a long run with you, Jen.
So I leash up Guac and we start going for a run and we get not even half a mile from the house. He's like, I don't want to run anymore. This is the thing he does. I don't want to run anymore. We get to the end of the block. It's not even 0.2 miles.
It's a stumpy little street.
He's like, I think I'm done. And I'm like, no, bitch, we're running. So I'm like, come on, let's go. Come on, let's go. So we maybe made it 0.4 miles.
See, this is making me think it was intentional of him. That he was building up resentment.
So we kind of get, by the time we've gone 0.4 miles, we have left the part, we always talk, there's like Sugarloaf Boulevard that has streets. Half of it has residential stuff where we live, but we're very much at the end. There's only a couple streets past us, and then you're in the wilderness protection area. So by the time we have gone 0.4 miles, we have left our little side street, we have left the residential area of Sugarloaf Boulevard, and we're just on the road in the wilderness protection area, and it goes 1.5 miles down to a mostly abandoned road with a few houses. But there's sometimes traffic on that street.
There's no sidewalk. There's a bike lane. That's about it. It's basically the shoulder.
Yeah, and it kind of doesn't go to anything. I mean, there's just dead end after that. There's a few houses down there, and then, probably a dozen houses over, like the 5 miles that are left.
Maybe some ghosts.
Definitely some ghosts that I've seen, which we can talk about in this 2-hour podcast if we want to. And some people drive down there to go to the jumping bridge, which is in a closed part that's closed to traffic, but it's down there. So there's not a lot of traffic on the road, but there's cars that go past. Yeah. So we get 0.4 miles and Guac's like stopping, right? And I'm like, come on. And he's like, no, you pull on this collar, I'll pull my head out of the collar.
What a jerk.
And I'm like, fine. So we like cross the street. So we always run into traffic, right?
Right.
So we cross the street. Fine, I'll bring him home, even though we're not even going to get a mile out of this.
What a fail.
So we're running, and we're not back to the residential part yet. We're still in the kind of running in the bike lane on the side. And this big loud truck comes past, which Guac does not like big loud trucks. And I've got a waist leash. And I've got so it's basically like a leash goes around like my hips, and it's got a ring on it that clicks onto a leash that clicks onto Guac's collars. That way I don't have to hold a leash when we're running.
Hands-free.
Hands-free. But it has handles on it. And so Guac was kind of being all cagey and everything. So I put him on the short leash. So there's basically a ring in the middle of the leash that goes from my waist to Guac, and you can clip that ring. And so he's on like a 3-foot leash instead of a 6-foot leash. And since we're running in the bike lane and he's being kind of cagey, I put him on the short leash. And so he's kind of running right in front of me, and I'm running. This big loud truck comes past, and Guac freaks out. So he's kind of in front of me a little bit to the right and just bolts to the left, which fortunately is kind of like into the woods on the side.
The ditch.
Yeah. As opposed to into the road. Ugh. But bolts. So I can't do anything about this. He's got a 3-foot leash, so he just freaks out. Pew! Pulls.
And you're tethered to him.
I am tethered to him. I can't let go of the leash. I can't do anything. So because he kind of went across me, he sort of trapped my right arm because he was kind of in front of me to the right. And I sort of have my hand on the leash just in case. So he bolts. So my right hand is trapped. And I, of course, fall, right? I trip over Guac, who runs right in front of me. And then if I had been able to catch myself, I am also tripping over the leash, which is in front of me.
Pulling you sideways.
Yeah, pulling me sideways. So I managed to get my left hand down and land simultaneously on my left hand and elbow, my right shoulder, and my right cheekbone, like land on my face. I broke my sunglasses, both knees. And it hurt. So I okay, hit the ground. And I'm like, oh my God, everything hurts so bad. Like, I just need to sit here for a minute to let the initial pain go past. I'm like bleeding profusely out of both knees, out of my hand, my palm cuts like that are just like the worst. They hurt so bad. I've ripped my palm open, my knee,
your
my
face,
elbow. I got a big, my face is sore. I landed, I've got pretty prominent cheekbones, and I land right on the cheekbone on the right side and my right shoulder.
Luckily, cut the road with your cheek. cut the asphalt.
So I was like, okay. So I sat there with Guac, and I'm like, we're gonna walk the rest of the way home.
You were mad at Guac.
I was very mad at Guac.
You were also legitimately Guac. I'm ashamed to know you.
It's
ashamed. You're not my friend, Guac.
I mean,
tried to kill Jen. Kill her.
He tried to kill me. So I get home, I'm like, Guac tried to kill me. Jared's like, oh, you got a mark on your shoulder. I'm like, look at my knees, which are I've got blood running down my leg.
I don't think I was that casual about it.
Seemed pretty casual to me.
Holy crap. Oh,
Anyway, so Guac tried to murder me. I am okay though. I had to take it. I tried to go back out and run, and I made it like another half mile, but everything was really swollen. And then the next day, I was really sore. Like I was like, why is my tricep sore? But just on the left side, it felt like I had lifted weights
or been in a car crash,
which I hadn't. But it's because I tried to catch myself, and I could only get my left arm down, and so like all sorts of weird muscles went into me trying to catch my fall.
I'm so glad you didn't break anything. Or
I am glad too. I mean,
crack your skull.
I could have done like landing on my face like that. If I hadn't got the other arm down or something, like I could have done some really serious damage.
I know.
So.
And Guac has said next time he's going to make sure it looks better. So I wouldn't take him for any more runs because
he's off of
stone cold killer.
Jen runs with dogs. My running account is now Jen runs with not Guac,
yeah,
but occasionally.
Next time you go swimming, I'd watch out too. Guac's going to like hold your head underwater and stuff. I mean, the guy's ruthless.
Jesus. So that was not fun. It's still sore. I can kind of shower now without it hurting.
What a jerk.
But it took a couple days for everything to heal.
No, you think like biking with a dog is high risk because that can happen, but Guac really managed to do a number.
So that's the main Guac story. As for the rest of the dogs, when you were gone, Dad, we haven't even talked about this. Everybody got an ear infection on Friday night.
Wow.
Like somebody was shaking
Did you take him
head.
to a concert?
I think like Little Cheese was shaking his head and he had one like real flat ear, and I was like, oh, you have an ear infection. And then Brody was doing it, and Hobbs was doing it, and Venk was doing it, and Vood was doing it, and I was like, everybody's getting freaking eye drops. Like, fine.
Were they rubbing ears together?
I don't know what they were doing.
Weird thing. It's like the mono of ears.
Yeah. Anyway, they're all fine now. I mean Venk is still getting ear drops.
Weird as they were before, but their ears are better.
It's weird. This weekend, I also felt like Vood sort of had a breakthrough with his recall. He was really coming well. Like, he'd be in the front yard, and I'd call him, and he'd come. And then Monday, you got back, and he's like, fuck that bullshit. And now he, like, lays out there, and he's like, I don't even want your cheese of the righteous. I'm laying here for a while.
Really?
Yeah.
It's inconsistent, because he's been coming into the elevator pretty well if he doesn't lie down first.
He's definitely doing better.
If he lies down, you're doomed. But if he just kind of ambles and comes around the corner and sees the elevator, he's sometimes like, oh, there might be cheese in the elevator, I'll go that way.
Yeah, the cheese helps. So it's slow progress, but he is learning, and he's definitely improving.
He's a good boy. He just has an angry face. He looks like something out of Star Wars, some monster.
He's so weird.
He's a weird dude.
Okay, I'm looking at my list of notes here. I wrote down weights. That would be the weights of the dogs.
Yeah.
What? Did you just make that sound, Vood?
Vood, don't make that sound, Vood.
So Voodoo's down to 98. He's broken. He was 100 last time, or 101. So he's.
And he doesn't like it, but you know.
Well, same to you, Voodoo man.
I guess he's bored. I'll let him out.
Okay. So Voodoo's down to 98. Brody is back down, I think, to 91.
It was 91. Yeah.
Was it right, 91? I have a note that has all of the dog weights in it. Now, of course, I can't find it. But yeah, Brody, he must be down to 91 because he's finally like losing weight again. He had been stable at like 93 for quite a while. And of course, he complains all the time about how hungry he is. Oh, here's my file. Okay, so Voodoo was 98, CB was 92. So CB is losing weight again, which is good. If we could get him down to 80, I would be happy. Voodoo, 98. So he's actually doing a great job in terms of his weight loss. And he's not whiny about his food amounts. He likes his snacks, but he doesn't seem hungry all the time. Where like Brody like moans about how hungry he is all the time. And we got him on medicine, and we give him green beans and all this stuff. And he keeps complaining. Yeah, so he's like on the fluoxetine and still the trazodone and the gabapentin. And he had a couple days where he was way better. And now I'm not sure that he's doing a lot better.
Yeah.
His eyes are super irritated today, which is sad.
Allergic to something. Yeah, he looks like someone with hay fever.
But he's been, I guess he's slightly less irritating than he was, but he's not at a good mental place yet. And like I said, when he first started doing this, we started feeding him a bunch more, and we were giving him like 3 times dinner, and he was gaining weight quite quickly.
Yeah.
And he still was doing it. So it's not just that he's hungry, because
No.
when we give him tons of food, he still does it all the time.
No, he just wants something. He doesn't know what it is, or he feels weird.
Yeah.
But he's very vocal,
So
loud.
he sure is.
Ma.
So that's the update on him. Hops is fine. Vink is
Shaved.
she still has all of her shaved patches, but she's doing okay.
She never was going to win any dog shows.
No. But she's healing up okay.
Yeah.
Not too whiny.
She's as weird as she always has been. We lost her today. Couldn't find Vink. I was at the
like,
desk.
where's Vink? And I like went in every room in the house.
I went in every room
outside.
in the house. She was under the desk. She was 2 inches from my feet when we started looking for her. Vink's just under my desk looking out going, "What? Why are you guys walking around?"
She just
Since she doesn't know her name, it's not like she's coming out when called.
I know. So yeah, Vink is fine. Hops is fine. Voods is still doing good on his once a day phenobarbital.
No
like we said, his
seizures,
weight is down.
which is
No
the best
seizures.
thing.
Yep. So that's good.
He just went out for a nighttime swim a little while ago.
Yep.
That's what he does now.
Yep. Brody, still kind of annoying. We're working and getting there with him. And then I guess Little Cheese is not doing all that great.
No, he's
Sadly.
real tired and kind of lethargic.
Super lethargic. Like he just kind of sleeps all the time and doesn't really want to get up. Not eating yesterday and today. So he will eat snacks, which is good. I mean, Patrick wasn't eating his tater tots.
The delicious
he
stuff. He's eating noodles. He's eating
He
cheese.
did refuse some noodles at first, but then he came around to the noodles.
He's eating turkey slices.
Yeah. So I took him up to the vet today, and they did blood tests and an ultrasound and
Prodding
everything.
and testing.
Nothing looks super obviously bad. Like she said, his prostate has some cysts on it, and she could feel a couple lymph nodes that she couldn't, so he could have prostate cancer. And I was like, she's like, we can do some aspirates and find out. I'm like, what do we do if he has prostate cancer? And she's like, well, you don't just take the prostate out. She's like, you could do like palliative chemotherapy, but you have to do that up in Miami because we can't get the PPE down here to do it. And I was like, he's 12 and a half. I'm not going to take him. Like, it's not a matter of time or money, which she knows, right? I mean, for us, like, we'll spend whatever money we have to spend always on these dogs. Like, that's never the question. But he's 12 and a half. Like, we already took his spleen out. He's got all these like cysts, non-cancerous, but cysts on his liver. We're not going to take him up to Miami for palliative chemotherapy.
3.5 hours or 3 hours each way. He doesn't even like the car that much.
And he's not going to feel great after it. I mean, chemotherapy is not as bad on dogs as it is on people, but it's still a thing. And
it's aggressive. Yeah.
If like I said, if he were 7, sure. He's 12 and a half. I'm like, I'm not going to do that. Like, why are we going to bother with this?
Dodges one bullet and he catches another.
Yeah. And,
Small cheese.
The tumors that he had weren't cancerous, but I think we all kind of expected he had some cancer somewhere. So, maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. But, so he's still eating snacks, which is good. I mean, that's a big step up from not eating anything, which is where St. Patrick was.
Yeah.
But he's been sleeping a lot, like to where it's like it's really hard to get him up.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem like he's in pain or that he's suffering or anything, but he's remarkably more lethargic, not interested in eating. So at the vet today, they gave him a big like subcutaneous fluids where they put like the camel hump of water.
He looks like a dromedary, yeah.
So he has absorbed that. So basically we're going appetite stimulants, which we have. Entice is the medicine.
It's called Entice.
It's good stuff. It works.
That's a good name. That's better than some random oxy-moxy-floxy.
Yeah.
Fluine.
Entice. So we'll start that in the morning because he did eat when we got home. He ate spaghetti.
A little bit of loaf, a little bit of meat.
Yeah, and that's the canned food. It's loaf.
It's called loaf.
It stands for low fat It's basically low fat gets you the low and the F, and there's some other thing in there in the acronym, but it's called, like on the website and everything, it's called
anti-digestive issues.
Yeah, it's like gastrointestinal gentle food.
Yeah.
But it says loaf everywhere, so we just call it loaf. It's like regular old canned dog food. So yeah, we kind of bundle that in spaghetti. He ate some of that.
Yeah, that's where we crunched up the Cheetos on it one time, and that was fine.
Yep. So we're going to start him on the Entice tomorrow. And then we talked with the vet, who's great. And she's like, once that stops working, we'll put him on prednisone, which is a sort of last ditch. Like, it makes them putting him on steroids makes them feel good. It doesn't fix anything.
Makes them hungrier.
It makes them hungrier. Makes them pee a lot. Makes them drink a lot. Like, they could pee on themselves. Like, it isn't necessarily great, but it sometimes can make them feel better. And if it's just like you're trying to get the good days out of them that you can, you'll get a couple weeks maybe with prednisone.
We've tried it.
Yeah. I mean, Dr. Bob, who's our vet in Maryland, said no dog should die without the benefit of steroids. If you're like going to lose your dog, put them on steroids for a couple weeks and, have them kind of feel really good artificially for a couple weeks. So that's our next step. So it sounds like we don't have a ton of time left with the little cheese, unfortunately.
Bite your tongue. Just bite your tongue.
I hope that this is just...
He's still recovering from his surgery.
I hope that's true, but we were both independently worried enough that we said to each other, like, I'm kind of worried about the little cheese, and took him up today.
Nah, my denial is strong, but it's not perfect.
I mean, look, he could definitely make a swing up. Like, we talked about Patrick being... day to day, whatever, in
November, when his eye was wonky, yeah.
And we got like 4 more months out of him, so we could have quite a bit of time left with a little cheese, but...
70 months, man.
Oh, that would be great. I would take 70 weeks.
He's a cute little...
He's great.
Pocket-sized retriever.
He's a wonderful little boy, so...
He is. He's very sweet.
We'll see what happens. I mean, I hope this is not another case of Jasmine, like 1-2 punch 2 weeks apart. I don't know that I could deal with that. Even though we haven't, we've had Patrick since June. We've only had St. Patrick since November. But Parmesan. That's right. We got St. Patrick in June. We got Parmesan in November. Parmesan is much more connected than St. Patrick was. St. Patrick had a lot of really advanced dementia. He was really kind of off of his own space. He didn't bond with us. I mean, he was wonderful and we loved him, but and he would wag for us. He knew that we were good and that we loved him, but he didn't really know what was going on. Where Parmesan really does. He's connected with us in a more normal way. Yeah, I would say.
Yeah.
So we'll see, but unfortunately it's not going great. Maybe it's just a kind of tough phase in his recovery. But
we should just get a puppy. They're more stable.
Oh my God.
They don't get sick like this.
We have a Vood and a Guac, and they both super stress me out.
They're idiots. Let's get a female puppy.
A female puppy, that'd be good.
We'll get another Venk, and then she'll have to get bionic hips and friggin' elbow surgery and all the other stuff, and then we'll end up with a Venk.
My brother lost his 13-year-old Golden, I think a day or two before St. Patrick, I think the beginning of last week. And he has a puppy now. This is very much like when I was growing up, my dad's strategy was like, get a puppy the same day that you lose your dog. Like, it's definitely some people's coping mechanism, not ours, obviously, but I understand it. And so my brother, I think they had their dog put down, and I think that day he had
the same trip, I think.
It could have been the
return
same
trip.
He got a new puppy, 8-week-old Golden, who's adorable. His name's Rudy, like for the movie.
Yeah, they're Notre Dame family.
Yeah, my nieces both one is graduated and one is going to St. Mary's, part of Notre Dame. So yeah, they were both part of the Notre Dame band.
No, I wouldn't do that without consulting you. I would not come home from Maryland with a dog, puppy or otherwise.
I would have been fine with it. I almost brought home 2 dogs last night. So I'm in the habit of going for walks late at night.
Questionable habit.
It makes me feel better. Sometimes I run. A lot of times I just walk. Especially when Dad's like falling asleep. I'm like, okay, it's like 10:30. Like, you're going to sleep. That's fine. I'm going to go out for a walk.
the most dangerous thing you've done is run broad daylight with guac. So I take it all back.
Yeah.
The nighttime activities seem perfectly safe as long as you don't have a guac.
I mean, the worst that has happened to me is that I have seen some ghosts, including this last week.
That's cool.
I was out walking, and typically I walk from our house down through the wilderness protection area, kind of to the abandoned dead-end road, and then turn around and come back. It's 3 miles round trip. And I'm walking down towards the end, right? I'm on the out leg, and I see the kind of figure of a guy standing in the middle of the road. And now this is not the same guy who took that very cool time-lapse picture of me.
The star photographer guy.
The star photographer guy was much closer to the part of the road that has the houses on it, the residential part of the boulevard.
And he had a car and a tripod.
Yeah, he had all this stuff. So this is down at towards the other end where there's nothing, and it's midnight. I mean, it's like I had gone out late, and I see the figure of this guy standing in the middle of the road, and the way the light is, like, all I see is this sort of shadowy outline. And I'm convinced enough that it's a guy that I turn on the flashlight app of my phone, because the last thing I want is to sneak up on somebody for them to not know that I'm coming.
Yeah.
Right? I want us all to know that we all know each other are here. So I always turn my flashlight on if I think I see somebody. So I turn my flashlight on because I think I see a guy, and shine the flashlight forward to where he is, and then he's not there.
That's a ghost.
I try to take a picture. I see him. I see the outline of this guy standing in the middle of the road. I try to take a picture. I take a beautiful picture. There's no guy in it.
That's totally a ghost.
He didn't move. I mean, I was looking at him the whole time, and then I get down there, he's not there.
It's either Florida Squatch or it's a ghost.
Florida Squatch. Somebody sent me, like, our poor Murders in Paradise podcast. Everybody loves that podcast so much, and I just got to get my ass in gear and do it. But somebody sent me a great article about, like, the Florida Keys being haunted and limestone being a good conductor for ghosts. Like, it'll make a great episode.
Cool.
But it talks about how, especially at night, the Keys sort of transform into this really sort of spooky place, which is 100% true.
Yeah.
I've seen all kinds of ghostly things, pillars of mist,
sorts of rustling and creaking and screeches.
Last night I was out and I heard, before the dogs that I was going to bring home, I hear this kind of sound. I had gone through the wilderness. I was still in the wilderness area, but I was coming back towards the house, and I hear the sound sort of off to the right, and then this white heron. So it's like if you've seen a great blue heron, which are more common, we had those in Illinois where I grew up. We had them in Maryland. So it's just like, it's the same bird as that basically, but it's all white instead of
pretty big.
Gray or blue. Yeah, it's got like a 5-foot wingspan, sometimes 6 feet. So there's a white heron or great white heron preserve down here. There's a bunch of them down here. They're big white birds. And it was like 11 p.m., right? So this white heron takes off from it's just mangroves and wilderness on either side. And it takes off from the right side and it flies over me in the middle of the night, just silent, like, and lands in the water on the other side. But the moon is almost full right now. And so it flies basically, there's the moon, and the bird flies between me and the moon. And the moon is so bright, it's shining through like the bird's feathers. So the bird is like glowing. It's like lit internally. It was one of the more magical things that I have seen.
Also could have been a ghost. You don't know.
I guess it did definitely look like a bird.
An angel.
So could have been. I mean, it looked very angelic, but I think it was a bird.
Bird angel.
Anyway, so I continued walking, and I got to our street, and I was like, it's like 11 o'clock.
Goes asleep anyway.
Goes asleep. I'm not that tired.
That guy's not doing anything for me right now.
I'm also trying to do this this virtual like January thing for Badwater, so Badwater is, they have a few different races, but their main race is 135 miles from Badwater Basin in Death Valley to Mount Whitney, the lowest point in the continental United States, basically to the highest point in the United States. You can't actually go all the way to the top of Mount Whitney now, but you stop a couple miles short of that.
It's ridiculous.
It's 135 miles. It's 130 degrees when you start in Badwater Basin. It's kind of my dream race. I would love to be able to do it. I'm not at the point yet where I'm trained well enough to do it.
That's where people's shoes melt.
Your shoes definitely melt.
That's stupid.
mark your dad's words, because if things go well in like 2 or 3 years, I'm going to be running that race and he's going to be my crew. Every 2 miles giving me...
I'll be very supportive then. I'll give you new shoes.
Yeah. Anyway, I would love to do this race, but they're doing a virtual... They have, obviously, like everybody had to cancel the races for COVID. So they're doing a thing called Badwater 267 in January. So you have to do 267 miles in the month, running or walking. So I'm a little bit behind. I have to do like 14 miles a day for the rest of the month.
Some big weekends coming up.
Yeah, I better do a lot this weekend because I'm very far behind. But anyway, so I was like, okay, well, like it's 11 p.m. I'm not that tired. Why don't I walk another 3 miles? Like if I continue up to Route 1 and back, it's like 3 more miles.
That's where there's sidewalk and
there's sidewalk and everything. I mean, I have seen naked people on the sidewalk, but less likely to see ghosts, maybe.
Naked ghosts.
So anyway, so fine. I keep walking. I'm like listening to a podcast, like doing stuff. And kind of halfway between our street and Route 1, there's a canal that kind of cuts across. You can get from the open water that you see in our snaps to the other side of the island. There's a canal that goes through, and there's a little bridge that goes over the canal. So I'm up on the bridge, and these 2 dogs come walking across the bridge. I mean, there's no traffic. I mean, there's not a lot of traffic on our key anyway, but especially not at
just moonlit,
midnight.
Deserted road.
Yeah, these 2 dogs come across, like labs, basically. They might be mixes. And I was like, hi, friends. Come on over here. And they're like, woo, look at this lady. And they come over, and I'm like petting them. So I pet one, and then I'm petting the other one. And like the first one like sticks her snoop like under my arm. And she's like, no, pet me. And I was like, okay, let's get off the road and like go in the grass. And like the first one, like she's like lays down and she's like rubbing her face in the grass and like on me, smooshing her head on me.
You're like, oh, loosely supervised dogs.
So one of the dogs, they both have collars, but one of them has a name tag with a phone number on it. It's like 1115. So I'm like, okay, I mean, these dogs clearly should not be running around the middle of the street at 11:15 p.m. So I call the number. It just goes to voicemail. I text the number. Nobody responds. And
that would have been, for me, that would have been like, oh, fate. These are our dogs now.
And I'm like, these are very nice dogs. I'm going to bring them home. I was like, come on, dogs, let's go. And they're like, okay, we're going. So
Hi, new friend.
We start like walking home, and I was like, I can't introduce them to the rest of the squad in the middle of the night because that's chaotic, but they could sleep on the porch tonight. I'll put some water and some beds out there, introduce them to the squad tomorrow. That's cool. We got 2 more dogs. This is great. I was like, I should call the owner one more time because, they're probably just asleep.
Reality intrudes.
So I call one more time. And I do get an answer, and the dude was clearly asleep. And I'm like, I'm really sorry to be calling you at
I'm really sorry you answered.
11:30 p.m. on a Tuesday. I'm like, but I think I have your dogs. And he's like, you do? And I was like, do you have a dog named Abby? And he's like, yep. I'm like, do you have a second dog? And he's like, yep. I'm like, well.
No, you don't.
I got him.
actually, right now you do not.
Would you like me to bring them to your house? And he's like, that'd be great. And so I hear his wife in the background, like telling him the address. I think they're tourists who on our key, in most of the keys except for Key West and a couple other places, you have to rent a house for 28 days minimum. You can't just like come for a week, and that's to keep tourists from cycling in and out. But I think they were from out of town and maybe had rented a house for a week or a month or 2.
So he wouldn't memorize the address.
He didn't have
knows
the
where the
address
house is. Yeah.
And I'm like, he's like, here's the address, and I'm like, okay, is that next to the bridge over the canal? And he's like, maybe. I'm like, is it on the Route 1 side or the 4A side? He has no idea what I'm talking about.
No,
and I was like, I'm like, you know what? I'll just put it in my phone. Like, give me the address again. So I was like, all right, we're coming to your house. So I'm like, come on, dogs. We're going back to your house. They were great. I mean, they would have been good additions to the squad.
Oh, it sounds like we missed a good opportunity there.
They're very nice dogs. We could have had a couple of yellow labs.
I know. It sounds like they were well taken care of. So
no, they were.
I
was like, one of them really, so I get to their house and the guy kind of comes to the gate. And I was like, one of them at least had a real adventure because they're soaking wet. Like they clearly have been swimming. And he's like, yeah, I gave him baths tonight. And then we were outside to let him dry and I fell asleep. And, sometimes they like to run like that. And I was like, well, here you go.
So you got extra miles out of it. That was okay.
I did. I got like some extra
Unexpected steps,
and got to pet some dogs. So
maybe we'll have to roll by there slowly some night.
Go down Buttonwood Lane.
Get some turkey slices, turkey.
So that was pretty good.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, it's all for the best. We don't need to steal them from actual humans who love them.
Contrast that with our actual neighbor across the street. I wrote this down to just.
Oh yeah.
So you were in Maryland, right? Is that when this happened?
I think so. Yeah.
I think so.
There's nothing I could do, right?
That's
Otherwise,
right.
I would have been like, I could run interference or do a flashbang or something. Yeah.
So our neighbor across the street, she's pretty crazy, but she's also extremely nosy, right? Like she has a telescope or binoculars or something. She sees what I'm doing in the backyard, which is like a very narrow path that you could see from her house to our house, and super persistent. Like she comes to our front gate and
like almost rattles on the gate.
And I'll be like, I gotta do stuff with the dogs, and she'll stand there for 20 minutes waiting for me to come back.
Or just talk at you, even if you're like walking away.
Yeah, Jared Dad was out there last week, and she was yelling at him that we need to be careful when we go run and wear reflective stuff, and she was like worried.
She was gonna bring reflective stuff. I was walking away, slowly backing away.
Yeah.
The whole time.
She's one of those people where it's like she starts talking, and then if you say anything to engage, like it's 45 minutes, and it's like she does not know how to mind her business.
No, and it's partly just her advice to you living your life, but also her grievances about life too.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So I pull into the driveway and park my car, and I see her come out of her house, run out of her house, and then she's like at our gate, and I
hovering.
was like,
oh no, you have it closed, right? So it's closed.
The gate's closed.
She's like, oh my goodness.
And I was like, if I get out of the car, she's going to yell at me. And I do not want to hear whatever she has to say to me. So I'm like pretending to be on the phone. And then eventually I'm like, I don't need to pretend. I'm going to call Jared Dad.
It was Saturday and I was in Maryland.
And I'm like, Jared Dad, I'm trying to wait out the lady across the street. So I'm just going to sit in the car and talk on the phone with you, and maybe she'll go away. And so she's like hovering, and then she'll kind of go back across to her yard, and I'm like peeking through our
You were narrating this.
trees.
It was actually very funny for me because you were very good at describing. She's like, now I can't see her anymore, but I don't know where she just popped back out. She's peeking in. She's peeking through the branches now.
So eventually I was like, okay, I think she's gone.
But you're trapped in your car.
Yeah, I'm like, I gotta get out of the car. And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna bring the groceries in.
It was like mid-afternoon, right?
It's the middle of the afternoon. I was like, I could get out the passenger side of the car and then like
ooze
snake
along the side.
So
you know you were thinking, if I throw a rock over there, can I run while she's looking at the rock? Can I make it to the stairs?
No, I knew that wouldn't work. So I'm like, okay, I think she's gone. I'm just going to grab this bag of groceries, but you have to stay on the phone with me. So at least I have like plausible deniability. Sorry, can't talk. I'm on the phone.
As soon as she got out, I heard the yelling.
Hello. So here's what it was. And I do feel a little guilty about this. So I was cleaning out the house, and when we were taking our flight lessons, we had set up a little flight simulator with like Logitech like pedals and flight stuff. And we're no longer doing the flight lessons. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to put like the equipment on eBay. And then I'd bought like a $30 desk.
Like a student desk.
Amazon. Yeah, just to sort of have it. It was like in a closet, literally. And I was like, okay, we don't need this anymore. So I put it out to the curb for free. And so when I get out of the car and I've got Jared out on the phone, I've got a bag of groceries. She's like, are you getting rid of this desk? And I was like, yeah, you can have it if you want. She's like, oh yeah, I can use it. And I was like, okay. And she's like, thanks, bye. And I was like, I feel really bad. Like as a Catholic, right? Like it's not just that you're supposed to be nice, but that you're supposed to be charitable of heart. It's not just supposed
Look, you gave her your crap. That's charitable.
You're supposed to not think bad things about other people. In addition, like you're supposed to be nice to other people, but you're also supposed to be charitable of heart.
I gotta say, when I was in Lutheran catechism school, we learned it's more the actions. You can't control your mind as much, but you have to act.
I mean, you Catholics are
supposed to. You don't have to love your neighbor. You have to act like you love your neighbor. You guys are just much more strict.
Yeah.
Freaking mind control.
I mean, you're supposed to be pure of heart and mind.
Nah, we're just supposed to act right.
Yeah, I mean, I was very nice to her, but I definitely have my residual Catholic guilt of like, having all these bad thoughts about her because she has done lots of fucked up shit in the past, but actually this time she's very reasonably being like, I don't want to just take this desk from your curb without confirming that you're giving it away for free.
No, I direct message the Pope. He says it's fine. You didn't do anything bad. She didn't feel any resentment. She's fine. You're fine. You spent 3 minutes more of her time during the day, or actually it was like 25 minutes, but still, while you were huddling in the car trying to escape, didn't actually hurt her, and you're still a candidate for heaven.
Well, you gotta figure out when Lent is, and I'll do like penance. Lent.
Penance? What are you gonna give up?
I don't know. So
thinking
Lent,
bad thoughts. You guys are so strict with yourselves.
Ash Wednesday is February 17th. It's coming up.
Man, it's like Valentine's Day. Yay, love. And then Lent is like, oh, sad.
Yeah. I got to figure out what I'm giving up for Lent this year.
Yeah.
I think I've said this on the podcast
thinking
before.
Thinking bad thoughts.
I really like Lent. I mean, I think the process of like the reason you give stuff up for Lent if you're Catholic is not like as a punishment, but as that, you know, you're supposed to like recognize your insignificance and whatever. So you do Lent, and then Good Friday is like truly a very moving and amazing thing in the Catholic Church. And I don't care all that much about Easter, but I love going to Good Friday Mass. So I like to do Lent. I give stuff up for Lent. I like Ash Wednesday. I like Good Friday. And one of my friends in college who was also Catholic, he's like, so you basically just celebrate the death of Jesus. You don't care about the resurrection, just the death of Jesus.
I think that's a little cynical.
Well, I'm not friends with that guy anymore, so not for that, but he had his problems.
Yeah.
I got to figure out what I'll give. I didn't give anything up last year. It was too stressful.
Last year you were giving up. Everyone was giving up a lot of things, like hugging people. And
I know.
I mean, February, or no. Yeah, it wasn't as clear in February.
But it was getting close. I mean, stuff was starting to get canceled in February.
And now you're full on. You've given stuff up for a whole year.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I could just pick a thing. I could be like, I'll give up hugging people. Except then what's going to happen is I'll get like my vaccine March 1st. It'll like come really early.
Would be worth it.
It would be, but then it'll be like, oh, okay, I get my second dose on whatever, March 15th. And then it's like, I could hug people now, but I gave it up for Lent thinking it would be easy. Except I want to actually hug everyone as soon as I'm like vaccinated.
I don't understand. It's reverse psychology for fate. Why don't you do it? You got to do it. Tempt fate to give you the vaccine.
Except you wouldn't get hugs then either.
Tempt fate to get yourself the vaccine during February. It's totally worth it. Play the mind game.
Some corrupt person wants to give me a vaccine, like the guy in Philly. Have you read this story? So this city of Philadelphia.
The one who just like grabbed a bunch of vials and went home?
He's like Philadelphia authorized this like 22-year-old and his pals in their nonprofit to lead like mass vaccination in Philadelphia.
That's a good idea.
And with no health experience at all. And there's like a Black doctors collective that was trying to distribute vaccines, and they're like, no, we're going to give it to this 22-year-old like white college kid and his pals to give it out. And they had like no public health experience, and they had like a sign-up sheet, and all these like 85 and 90-year-olds signed up, and they're like, oh, we gave away too many spots, too bad you can't have your vaccine. And they're like, these 90-year-olds are like crying that they waited in line all day. And then like the dude actually had leftover vaccinations at that same thing, and he just like brought them home and then like had a party with his friends.
He literally like grabbed them in his hands and grabbed them and ran away with them. I mean, it's terrible.
You know what? I don't want your corrupt vaccine. I want it on time, and I would just like on time to be sooner.
Yeah, you don't want to take it from the mouths of anyone else. But,
no.
You know, if you happen to be at Walgreens at 5 to closing and they're like, these vials are going bad, we're about to chuck them. Would you like them in your arm or in the trash? And you're like, I think arm is better. And they'd be like, yeah, we agree. We'll put it in your arm.
One of my uncharitable thoughts is that, like, there's a bunch of stupid people who are just like, I'm not going to get vaccinated. I don't know what's in that thing. And you know what? Like, fuck you. Good. Spend some time making up your mind because I want it right now.
Maybe you should. That's what you should do is trail, like, semi-anti-vaxxers to go to these who are eligible, right? 77-year-olds.
And be like, that's going to make you infertile.
You don't have to say anything. You're a Catholic. Just hang around. And then when they're like, well, I don't want it. I've decided I don't want it. Then you go, here's my arm. Just give it to me.
Jam it in there.
Don't waste it. Don't waste it. What are you going to do? Throw it away? If it's between you and the trash, clearly you should have it morally.
One of our friends in DC got it because he has a pre-existing condition. He got his first dose. And then he told me last night that the state took away the rights of hospitals to give him. He got it through like the hospital center. And they were like, the hospital's giving it in the wrong order. And so now he doesn't get his second dose until like the state places. So he's like due for his second dose and he can't have it now. I'm like, I can't believe they're doing
calling
it.
this a system is charitable. Holy smokes.
All right, that's enough ranting.
Anyway,
vaccines. I want my vaccine. If anybody wants to give me a vaccine,
you have to
Pfizer,
give
Moderna,
give up hugging for Lent first. Jeez, didn't we just talk about this?
I will give up hugging everything if you'll give me a vaccine. Just give me a call. Send me a DM at the Golden Ratio 4, Golden Ratio 4 at Gmail, the Golden Ratio 4 at gmail.com. If you got a vaccine, I want it.
Maybe I should go to the crossroads at midnight and,
If they got vaccines there, I'm in.
Oh, I think they would have a vaccine. Oh, but it comes at a price.
Eternal life. If the crossroads at midnight gives me eternal life, I don't need a vaccine.
Yeah, but then it's crappy life. There's always a catch with the devil, man. It's eternal life, but you'll be in a wheelchair or Guac will trip you every day. Eternally.
All right, we're ready for our conch life?
Sure, after that, my ray of sunshine.
Man arrested for attempted kidnapping.
This is not a happy story either.
I mean, none of our conch lives are very rarely happy stories. Last week it was dude shot in stomach for playing a bad joke on his pal.
That was stupid.
Yeah.
Don't play. But we had a good one with the canine sniffers. That was pretty good.
That was good. Well, we're back to bad. A 61-year-old Stock Island man. So Stock Island is the key next to Key West.
It's like the supply island for Key West.
Yeah, you can't call it a suburb because Key West only has like 25,000 people.
No,
but it's sort of the ratchet cousin.
It's like across the railroad tracks away from Key West.
Yeah, that's right. There's no actual railroad tracks, but if there were, it would be on the other side. A 61-year-old Stock Island man was arrested Friday morning for attempting to kidnap a 19-year-old woman walking to work.
Ugh.
Steve, we're going to call him Steve, was charged with attempted kidnapping, battery, possession of marijuana, and possession of drug paraphernalia. There were no serious injuries reported. Deputies Freddie Rodriguez and Christian Dean responded to 2nd Avenue on Stock Island. That's where Rustica...
There's only like 4 avenues on Stock Island.
If you come to Key West, go to Rustica on Stock Island, like take a Uber there or whatever. It's like DOC Neapolitan pizza. It's fucking fantastic.
DOC is like a kind of Italian pizza.
DOC means like certified by the people in Napoli that you're making proper Neapolitan pizza. It's really good.
No.
It's really any place you can find like DOC.
That's a Neapolitan good pizza.
Don't listen
cake.
Don't listen to GR Dad's offensive accent.
It's excellent pizza.
It's really good.
It's a great place.
It's great.
It is a great, unabashedly, and you won't get kidnapped, I promise.
I miss it. Their COVID restrictions have not been up to our very exacting standards.
They follow the state guidelines.
Yeah. That's right. So we haven't been there for a while. But if, assuming post-COVID you come down, Rustica, totally worth a visit. The food is amazing. They got a good drink menu.
Yeah, and it's like 5 minutes outside Key West.
Yeah. The ambiance is really nice. Like Stock Island is real hit or miss, but it's a hit.
It's a total hit. They really have some good marina restaurants, too, actually, in Stock Island. I mean, you can get that in Key West, too, if you're
for sure
seafooding. But anyway.
But if you want pizza, Rustica is the best pizza in the Keys,
and they have chickens.
And there's chickens that just, like, ask to eat outside, for sure. And there's wild chickens that wander around there. Anyway, that's on 2nd Avenue.
There you go.
So, deputies Freddie Rodriguez and Christian Dean responded to 2nd Avenue in Stock Island at approximately 8:15 a.m., where they met the victim. She stated she was walking to work when an older man in his 50s or 60s with shoulder-length hair in a gold-colored vehicle, that's very Key West, asked her if she would help him look for a dog.
Oh, my God.
It's like a strategy used with like an 8-year-old. I lost my dog. Will you help me find my dog? Oof. She stated the suspect then got out of the vehicle and attempted to forcefully put her in the vehicle. She's 19.
Come in here and look for my dog with me.
Deputy Dean saw a gold-colored SUV at a convenience store on Stock Island earlier. The deputies went to the store and reviewed the security footage. The driver of that vehicle matched the victim's description. To be fair, there are a lot of 50 or 60 something white guys with shoulder length hair in the keys.
But the gold SUV was pretty good.
Yeah. The deputies put out a bolo.
Be on the lookout.
Excellent. For the vehicle, a Honda CR-V, and later found it in a parking lot at the Perry Hotel.
Oh,
The
fancy.
registered owner came back as Steve.
Yeah.
Steve's driver's license picture matched the victim's description as well as the suspect seen in the convenience store security footage. The deputy walked up to the vehicle. Oh, no. The dude walked up to the vehicle. Deputies stated they were conducting an investigation and asked him about the incident with a female pedestrian earlier in the day. Steve admitted to previously asking a, quote, pretty girl walking down the street about a missing dog.
Does he even have him? No, he's trying to kidnap her.
Detective Boyd Williams asked the victim if she would be willing to identify Steve. She did so and stated she was 100% sure Steve was the attacker. Approximately 2.3 grams of marijuana and a pipe were found in Steve's vehicle. Steve was taken to jail.
I mean, that's also common in Key West.
Yeah, for sure.
Long-haired 50-year-old, 60-year-old dude with
Oh my God.
with pot.
Don't try to kidnap anybody, you guys.
That's ridiculous. Good for her for pressing charges
Yeah,
and for
good for her.
not being intimidated by this
Screw
asshole.
that guy.
Screw that guy. He could stay in jail. Hope the emu eats him.
There is an emu in the jail. It's true.
Yeah, that's a hungry emu.
Do you have a German word of the week for us?
Yeah, it's of course not a happy one either, but it's the Holocaust Remembrance Day in Germany.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's the day Auschwitz was liberated by the Russians. But it's
Oh, I didn't know that was what Holocaust Remembrance Day corresponded to.
yeah,
Oh, that's nice.
yeah.
I mean, it was terrible, but like,
It's the only good
it's a
thing.
good thing for it to map to.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
It's called Holocaust Leugnung, which is Holocaust denial,
Denial.
which is a crime in Germany and in many other European
Like denying that the
countries.
Holocaust is a thing that happened.
Correct. Or minimizing it.
But wait, is that what the day is called?
No. Holocaust Leugnung is it's apropos of today.
Yeah.
But
okay.
I'm just pointing out this word. Holocaust Leugnung is the denial of the Holocaust, which is actually a crime in many European countries.
Yeah.
Because they're just like, this is designed to either incite violence or to harm people psychologically, and it's minimizing this terrible thing and the suffering.
This is why Jen has been suffering for the last 3 weeks in the greater public service
That's right.
because of assholes who Holocaust.
Yeah.
Say the word again.
Leugnung.
Leugnung.
is denying something.
Fuck
denying
those
that something
guys.
happened. Yeah, it's a problem with the internet, right? Also, because you can have
Yeah.
Germans on websites that are hosted in America, and they can do all this shit. But if they, technically, if they did it on a German website, it wouldn't even be allowed, right? It'd be blocked.
You guys, if you're like super mad about all of this, you can go on Twitter and look for the hashtag sedition hunters, and you will find people who are looking like a community of people who are tracking down dudes in all of the videos from the Capitol insurrection and identifying them. And without adding too much information, I caught one of those Nazis and he got arrested this week and was denied bail. The guy that I caught, I was talking to the FBI and I was like, here's all my evidence. And the FBI is like, this is great. Can you also do this? And I was like, yes, I can. I will find you whatever technical information you want. And they arrested the guy based on the stuff that I gave them, which was super satisfying. Fuck that guy. But yeah,
it's
there's
like reviewing public feeds, right? I mean, this
That's
is
right.
like
You're
Facebook
just going
stuff
through-
and parlor tapes and all this stuff, right?
You're just looking at like all of these different sources, like trying to find stuff that people, like there were a lot of people there who were not participating, right? Who were either documenting or who were journalists. And so there's a ton of footage and stuff. Plus, yeah, the stuff downloaded from Parler. And so if you want to hunt these guys down, or, you look at like old video from previous marches, people's previous stuff on like Facebook and stuff, you can track these guys down.
It's like a true crime thing, except it's a true crime thing.
It truly is.
Yeah.
So if you're feeling frustrated and you got some time on your hands, look at hashtag sedition hunters. And there's, it's really interesting for me as like a person who researches social media, where there's like these Google Docs and they've got hashtags for all these different people. You can go into the Google Doc and it's like, here's a picture of the person. Here's the hashtag. Look at the hashtag on Twitter.
Red sweater guy, or like, this guy.
That's right. So like red sweater guy. And then it'll also be mapped to a hashtag where like the FBI has put out like a request for information. And there's a number like number 60 AFP. And so 60 AFP will also be hashtagged on anybody who finds this. So it's like, here's the FBI hashtag. Here's the hashtag that we've been using. You can find all the stuff that people have found. And then like, we need better headshots of these person. All of these are people who are currently unidentified. So if you want to hunt some freaking Nazis, you can do it.
That's good. Yeah. So why stop now? I mean, it's been a business since 1945.
Indeed. So, and you can do it online from your house. And like, I am proof that you can find these guys and identify them and get their high school yearbook pictures and maybe their graduation videos. And
there's a lot of stuff on the internet.
I got a whole dossier on this guy that I handed over to the FBI, and he got arrested because of what I did. And it's incredibly satisfying.
Because of what he did.
Yeah.
He got arrested because of what he did.
He did it and I caught him.
Yep.
And the FBI arrested him and he's in jail right now.
Yeah, it's kind of cathartic.
So if you want to find some Nazis, hashtag Sedition Hunters will get you looped into that group. There's a ton of reading to do, but you can like do some real good. Even if you just find them in other pictures or at other rallies, it's really useful. So you can...
Yeah. Don't make the Mossad do all the work of hunting Nazis. You
Indeed.
can pick up a little slack sometimes.
All right, dear Dad, this has been a long podcast.
Feels like it flew by, unlike this year so far.
Year. Well, yeah, both. No, it feels like it's been a long time.
Isn't it? There's these memes going around. It's March again.
Oh, no.
It's going to be March again in like 3 weeks, 5 weeks. I know. What? It was just March.
God damn it.
It's going to be March again.
All right, I need another drink. Until next week, everybody, don't butt anyone unless they ask.
Yeah, mask up.
Bye.
Bye.